Story 1. I have nothing against veganism, but I enjoy cooking and I am not going to eliminate so many ingredients. Story 2. I'm a straight man, so I probably have a penis. It is completely normal to have one. It's a strong indicator for many, but not for me. Story 3. Saying phrases like "my truth" is not necessarily a red flag. However, in my experience, it is often used when gaslighting or justifying poor behavior. Story 4. Anyone who makes their life about politics, whether left or right, Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, can create a divisive atmosphere. It's fine to have political beliefs, but I don't want to hear about every action taken by politicians when I just want to spend some time together. Story 5. I love trying new foods from different cultures and cooking various dishes. If all someone ever ate was chicken nuggets or had to put ranch on everything, I couldn't handle it. Story 6. Being too close to their parents can be concerning. I understand this may make me seem harsh, but I have witnessed many marriages where one partner prioritizes their parents over their significant other. Additionally, I have a somewhat strained relationship with my own parents, so it would be difficult for me to observe that dynamic. Story 7. They text in a way that feels like a human resources email. Acknowledged. I will see you at 7 p.m., or the opposite, where they text in a bizarre manner. The pigeons know too much. Unfortunately, I have experience with both types, and it's just not for me when they text constantly like that. Story 8. Being a smoker, I absolutely hate the smell of cigarettes. I cannot imagine kissing my partner after they have just smoked. Additionally, the smell lingers in their clothes and their house, and I find that unbearable. Story 9. If he is preachy, hypocritical, judgmental, or completely lacking a sense of humor, not being able to take a joke is one of my biggest turnoffs. Worse are the people who distort what should be an obvious attempt to lighten the mood by accusing you of just being rude or an unpleasant person. Sigh. No, Zachary, you just have no personality and need to take a calming medication and relax. Story 10. Using too much shorthand in texts can be frustrating. It's not a major concern, but it can be annoying. We have full keyboards on phones now. I suppose it is somewhat of a warning sign, but, Story 11. I find people who still type like it's 2012 undateable. Writing, "what are you up to?" and "haha, OL," is very cringeworthy to me. Story 12. Wanting to live in the United States, skeptical of mental health care, and questioning anyone who wants me to give birth again. Story 13. Talking nonstop about the news, politics, religion, or drugs can be overwhelming. Sometimes I can look at someone's profile on Tinder and automatically know the type of person I will encounter. Story 14. Dating is an inherently discriminatory process, and that is how it should be. I am happily married now, but my list of requirements and non-negotiables was extensive. The end result was a man with whom I am perfectly matched. Story 15. If you have those beliefs, that is fine. More power to you. However, I have experienced significant religious trauma, so that is not acceptable for me. Story 16. I was on a dating site and talking to a local woman. I am very honest and transparent. I told her I lost my teeth due to bone density issues. I can't help that. She suddenly stopped messaging. Story 17. Not having a job and no child support does not count as employment. Neither do food stamps or your ex-husband's tax refund. Story 18. Being politically conservative, racist, bigoted, sexist, and unfunny. I also would not go out with a tobacco smoker again. Story 19. Being apolitical or centrist on both sides was acceptable 20 years ago. However, these days it often means being complicit or silently supporting those who wish harm on others. Story 20. I'm done dealing with hospitalized motorcycle riders. No more motorcycle enthusiasts for me. I want someone who can engage in intelligent or even humorous conversations without me having to initiate everything. I prefer a partner who is not content to watch television all the time, even on weekend nights or beautiful days. Quiet evenings at home are fine, but it shouldn't be the norm. I need someone who helps with meals and shares responsibility for household chores. Be neat and don't leave messes for me to clean. Must love dogs. Story 21. Meet me outside the Alibi on Iberville in New Orleans tomorrow at 1 a.m. I'll be the well-endowed gentleman in the wolf fur loincloth. I'm joking. I won't be there. Story 22. A go-with-the-flow mentality is essential. I love spontaneity and taking life moment by moment. Finding a fellow intellectual who experiences life deeply and appreciates meaningful conversations is rare. I believe these small experiences, these adventures, make life worth living, even on the dull days. I feel deeply and could never spend my life with someone who does not share that same passionate spark. Story 23. I don't know, most of the things I thought of initially were actual red flags. However, worrying about what other people are doing in their relationships or using their behaviors to request changes in your own can be concerning. Story 24. Not having a prior relationship is not necessarily a big deal, but it can be tough to navigate this with a potential partner. Story 25. Not having a job is a deal breaker for me. If I am ever single again, that will be non-negotiable. I don't care how attractive she is. She must have a job. I have always ended up with women who either lost their job shortly after we became serious or were looking for work when we met. It has always become an issue later, leading to accusations of being controlling and bad behavior to prove they weren't dependent on me. I have witnessed excessive free time spent online. Story 26. There is a lot that I am supposed to enjoy, probably. Texting good morning and good night every day. Texting every day. Being affectionate. Wanting to always sleep in the same bed. Enjoying oral intimacy. Being dominant. Generally being romantic. I am not into any of this. My list of non-dateable traits makes me look like a red flag. Story 27. These incompatibilities are deeply personal and vary by individual. What matters is self-awareness about non-negotiable needs and respectful communication when values or lifestyles do not align. Recognizing these differences early can prevent future conflict, even if neither party is wrong. Story 28. For me, as someone who is a light sleeper and has had sleeping issues my whole life, I cannot date a snorer. I have dated snorers, and I now know that it would not work for either of us. Story 29. If they don't like concerts or can't allow for me turning up early, I'm not saying they have to go with me. Just accept that I will be there and be there early. If you're someone who arrives just 20 minutes before the headliner or leaves during the encore, then we are fundamentally different at heart. There's a slim chance it might work, but don't expect me to leave the barrier to find you. Story 30. High partner count and a history of casual sex clash with my views on intimacy and could result in differing perspectives on the act of sex. Story 31. Toddler palate. If you will not try anything other than French fries and dinosaur nuggets as an adult and turn your nose up at anything green, we cannot date. Story 32. They need to genuinely like my animals. It's not enough to be okay with them or to tolerate them. If we've been talking for a while, and she's seen pictures but isn't looking forward to meeting them, it's clear she's not the right person for me. I would rather be alone than share my life with someone who doesn't appreciate my pets the way I do. There is no comparison. Cats, snakes, turtles, and lizards. She should like them all, truly, not just in theory. Story 33. I once dated a guy who would not eat anything spicy or with too much seasoning. After our fourth date at a chain restaurant, and him ordering chicken fingers again, I realized it would never work. I love food, both eating and cooking, especially trying new things from other cultures. If someone isn't interested in that, then we are just not compatible. Similarly, I love traveling, excluding all-inclusive resorts, and would not date someone who is the type to lay on a beach all week. There is nothing wrong with that, but I prefer walking around and checking out museums and sites. I can only handle 3 to 4 days on a beach at a time. These may be silly deal breakers to some, but the older you get, the more you realize that it's important to find someone with similar interests, especially if those interests are a big part of who you are. Story 34. Enforcing a 50-50 approach, especially if you and your partner just started dating, may not be necessary. If you don't even live together, why impose a 50-50 financial arrangement in the relationship? It might be time to reconsider and acknowledge that you may not be ready to date. That's just my perspective. Story 35. Being too family-oriented is not necessarily a bad trait, unless you have a toxic relationship with your family. However, it is not a value I identify with, as my family tends to stress me out. I prefer found family, meaning friends and the community I have built with people I choose to be around. I dislike being dragged to family events, especially those that are someone else's. In my past experiences with family-oriented individuals, they are rarely willing to compromise, which creates problems. Do we really have to spend every Christmas with your family? Apparently, yes. One example is an ex who insisted we attend a very expensive family event when we were already facing severe financial issues. After much arguing, he was unwilling to compromise, so we went, and it made our finances 10 times worse, as expected. I never really stopped resenting that he prioritized spending on the event over our shared finances, rather than finding an alternative, such as visiting the family member another time or asking his family for financial help. Because family comes first. Story 36. Major obligations. If you already have a top priority, count me out. Children at home, an elderly frail parent, or even a serious health issue of your own. If it develops later, that's different, but I'm not going into a relationship where I'm second best at best. Abandoning an obligation, of course, is even worse. So avoid them as much as you can. Keep yourself healthy and refrain from having children if you're single. Story 37. Dog ownership. I am not a fan of dogs to begin with, and to be honest, many dogs are poorly trained or not trained at all, making them difficult to be around. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.